Welcome to the Pet Loss Companion. I'm Ken Dolan-Del Vecchio. I'm here with my friend and co-author, Nancy Saxton-Lopez. We actually saw each other face to face. We had dinner last week in New Jersey, always a good thing.
Yes.
And this is a program that we do every Thursday from 6 to about 6:30. And it is a way for us to extend the reach of a book that we published a few years back now called The Pet Loss Companion, Healing Advice from Family Therapists Who Lead Pet Loss Groups. The podcast, videocast, is a way for us to dialogue with people who are struggling with the loss of an animal companion. And also just it keeps us in touch with each other as well.
That's right. We go way back.
Yeah, we do. We go way back. So a lot of what we do is we read stories from people who have sent us their stories of loss and their healing journey. And so we invite you to send us your stories. You can reach me at kenddv at gmail.com, and you can reach Nancy at nsaxtonlopez at csmpc.com. That's nsaxtonlopez at csmpc.com. All the information I'm sharing in the beginning here is also in the program description, whether you're watching live, and welcome if you are, and if you're watching or listening to the audio podcast. And we appreciate you participating with us in either case. You can support our work in a number of ways. A newer way that we've got is a Substack post where we put all of the correspondence that we have with audience members who have allowed us to share it, along with their beautiful photos. And you'll see really some very elaborate stories that people have sent us, sometimes with lots and lots of photos. And we respond back to them. Sometimes we go back and forth for a bit. And many people have found that offers solace in a way that's similar, but a little bit different from the podcast. You can also support us through a gift through Venmo or PayPal or a monthly subscription. This program is a friend of Dakin Humane Society, which is in Springfield, New Jersey. And Dakin offers all kinds of different programs to support people and the animals with whom we spend our lives. And Dakin sponsors is also a shelter and an adoption center. One of the programs that they sponsor is a monthly support group over Zoom that I facilitate. It is on the second Tuesday of the month, and it runs 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. The next one is the 9th, coming up very shortly. And you can RSVP for the group, and there's a link to do so in the description. Please do RSVP if you think you'll be joining us, because the group is very well attended, and we have a cutoff of 50 participants. We cut off at 50. Don't let that intimidate you in terms of the size, because we understand that a little more than half people who register will actually likely come to the meeting, because life is complicated. Grief makes it even more complicated.
That's right.
And a lot of times people will sign up, but they're not actually able to attend. If you do sign up and you're not able to attend, and you know you're not able to attend, it'd be great if you sent me a note, because then we'll open the registration again if we reach that 50 mark. And it's totally free for you. And people Zoom in from all over the world. It's very interesting, the different perspectives people bring. We've had people from all across the US, from various parts of Canada, from the UK, from Saudi Arabia, from New Zealand, from Australia. It's just an interesting mix of perspectives and experiences. Please consider subscribing on YouTube if you haven't already, because this helps raise the visibility of the program, and it helps people who are looking for support with pet loss to come upon it more quickly when they search on YouTube. And finally, we'd like you to know that we have a relationship, an affiliate relationship with a business called Bereave. And Bereave makes these very fine crafted granite memorial plaques that you can post either at a memorial garden or a gravesite, or maybe you want to just keep it near where you keep all your mementos inside. And Nancy is holding the example that they gave us. We asked them to give us an example because we want to make sure that we would be advising you of something that would be valuable, that would have
It
value.
was really beautifully done, very heavy. It's just gorgeous.
And it comes with a little stand as well, so you can have it upright. Also, if you purchase a plaque from Bereave, you will be giving a measure of support to our program as well. We get a little bit of the cost of the plaque as well. So Nancy, want to get us started?
Yeah, we have a new story, and we have an update, a kind of short story from someone who we had on, one of the stories about a year ago. I guess it was about a year ago, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes now we're starting to get folks who wrote to us and now they've had another death, right? Or they have an update on what's happening for them, which is really nice to hear also.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Marisa's story about Pims. Such a
Mrs.
cutie.
Pims.
Such a cutie.
Right.
Dear Ken and Nancy, I found your podcast last night while reading a New York Times article on pet loss. I was browsing through reader comments and someone mentioned your podcast. I love listening to podcasts, so I bookmarked a handful of episodes that I can listen to the next morning. I wanted to listen to something that would help me. I've been grieving the loss of my pup, Pims, for the past 3 weeks. Pims was my 15-year-old Yorkie. He would have turned 16 this past Memorial Day. We got him as a puppy 6 months after my husband and I got married. I'd always wanted a dog and never got to have a pet growing up. Pims was this energetic little ball of fur, so playful and lovable. He was quick to potty train and learn commands. We loved him so much. After a few years, I wanted to get him a companion, but worried he would get mad or jealous. So we waited 5 years before getting another puppy, Vignette, a Shih Tzu. Pims was both mad and jealous. That first night we had Vignette, Pims kept barking at her. He was not happy. He would also sleep in her bed and steal her chew toys. After some time went by, he grew to love her, and they became buddies. Through the years, Pims would have many health issues. We would take him to the vet for treatment each time, and sometimes had to go to the emergency vet for certain situations. After each time, no matter how scared I was for him, he recovered and was back to himself. Last year, we celebrated his 15th birthday. We had a big party with other dog guests invited. Instead of a cake, Pims got a whole rotisserie chicken with a candle on top. It was a huge deal for me because the previous year, he had had a big health scare but got through it. Since the end of last year and the beginning of this year, we both noticed things were changing. He could not hold his bladder and had to wear diaper wraps. In case he wiggled out of them, I laid out waterproof blankets in our bed. He also was walking much slower than before and needed to rest in the stroller. Sometimes he would lose balance when standing, or his back legs would collapse. He went from eating 2 meals a day to just 1. He would also get really picky with snacks. 4 weeks ago, we were all about to leave for a vacation. I rented a dog-friendly home in a beach town a few hours away. As we were packing up, I sent both pups out the doggy door to potty. I was still packing stuff in the kitchen when Vignette zoomed in. Then later on, I see Pims limping. It was his front right leg. This has happened before, but after a few days of rest, it would go back to normal, so that is what I thought. I thought I could let him rest up on vacation, and before I knew it, he'd be fine. A few days went by, but no improvement. He couldn't walk, struggled to go into the bathroom, and did not want to eat. I called our vet and made an appointment for when we got back in town. In the back of my mind, I knew something was very wrong. At the appointment on May 5th, they took Pims away to get x-rays and then asked us to go in another room to look at them. He had a bone tumor and a bone fracture. The options were to amputate the leg and start chemo, or give him pain meds till we decide to put him down. I burst into tears in that room. We did not want surgery because he was an older pup and I didn't think he could handle it. This was something I couldn't fix. We were devastated. They gave us the pain meds and a lap of love pamphlet. The rest of the day seemed like a blur. We scheduled his euthanasia at home with lap of love on May 10th. It was the toughest decision I ever had to make. What made it more sad was it was right before Mother's Day. Pims was my first fur baby. We loved our boy so much, but hated seeing him like this. He wasn't himself. He was panting, so tired and uncomfortable even laying down, but he never whined or complained. I was able to take 2 weeks off from work, yes, to spend as much time with him and then to grieve. Each day we planned a little something, but it was always full of cuddles. On Monday, my husband got Chick-fil-A for lunch, a treat for Pims. He loved nuggets and fries. We wanted to give him his favorite foods this week. Maybe that would entice him to eat something. On Tuesday, family and friends came by to visit Pims. On Wednesday, we took him to the beach early in the morning and cooked him bacon and eggs for breakfast. On Thursday, we took him to his favorite park in the morning and then went on a boat ride in the early evening. For some reason, I had always dreamed for Pims to ride a boat while wearing a captain's hat. He finally got to do that. I stayed up late with him since that was our last full day together. He was sleeping, but I held him. I even took a video of him sleeping so I could still hear his little snores and breathing later on. Friday morning was dark and stormy. We waited for it to clear a bit so we could take one last stroll around our neighborhood. He laid down in his stroller and just looked around. While waiting for the vet to come over, we took turns holding him and telling him how much we loved him. When the vet was there, I held Pims the whole time. I cradled him like a baby. He was at peace where he was. After the first dose, his eyes were still open and his little tongue poked out. We kept petting him, his face, his tummy, his legs. His breathing slowed. He actually had to be given a third dose, and then I finally watched him take his last breath. We held him and kissed him. After we said our goodbyes, I felt a wave of relief. He wasn't in pain anymore. However, I was heartbroken and exhausted. The days that followed had been so tough. Not one day goes by where I don't cry. I've never cried more in my life. I don't doubt our decision to put him down. He let us know it was time. I just thought he'd be here forever. I think about Pims all the time. I can't talk about him without crying. I hate the silence when I wake up in the morning and when I go to bed at night. I miss his little snores. I miss his cuddles, his smile, his personality. I miss everything about him. He meant so much to us. He was always there for us. I remember him always checking on me. Wherever I went in the house, he would follow. He had to know where I was. He was our little shadow. But yet also has been sad. Sometimes I would find her laying in the spot where he passed. She doesn't want to play with her toys like she used to. During walks, she would keep stopping or looking around. She would be unsure of where to go, like she's lost. It breaks my heart that she misses him so much too. I talk to Pims every day and I look for signs to know he's around. I'm still waiting to see him in my dreams. I wear a necklace with a little P initial every day since he passed. Some days I feel like I'm getting back to routine and things are back to normal, but then I get sad again. I know it will just take time. Thank you for sharing the stories of the pets and pet parents and their experiences on the podcast. It helps me know that others are going through the same situation and my feelings are validated. You can also share the story of Pims. Thank you, Marisa.
Yes, thanks, Marisa, and thanks for the beautiful pictures as well.
Yeah.
He was such a cute little dog, and it sounds like he meant the world to you and your husband, and you gave him just a wonderful life and a really thoughtful and supportive transition out of this life too.
Right. I love how they they did all of those wonderful things. They had the time, luckily, to give him all of the food that he loved and his walks and
The rotisserie chicken.
and going on, into the boat, right? His boat ride and his ride and the strollers. And yeah, he went to the beach. I mean, it was so nice for him to experience all
So
that.
loved.
Yes, he was terribly loved, and he loved them back just as much, right?
And it sounds like their little beignet is
Right.
grieving as well, which
Yeah.
often happens, of course, because she noticed Pim's absence,
Yeah,
and just the way we do, really.
right.
I mean, more and more you see that our companion animals are not as different from us as many people might
Right.
imagine, I think, particularly in their emotional connections.
I mean, I love how she put this together, right? Because it was from the beginning and how much he was loved. And he had a lot of health scares. She didn't go into that
Yeah.
too much. But he did live till 15. It's never long enough. But then how she and her husband worked with him, like you said, through what was going to happen at end of life. They did not have any guilt, saying, listen, it was his time and he told us, right? That was her experience of that.
Yeah. And, they made the decision that the trauma of surgery and losing
Right.
his leg and all of that was just not something that he would likely recover from.
Yeah.
And so, so many times we hear these stories where people decide that they're going to provide quality of life instead of a massive amount of intervention.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a decision that every family has to make. And as she says, as Marisa says, they were at peace with that. And so that's the right decision for them. And it varies from family to family.
It does vary. Right. Well, everything's on a continuum, right?
Yeah.
So especially getting a new animal, maybe somebody gets another dog or cat the next day, some never do. And there's a whole continuum of what happens between that.
Yeah.
The same thing with how they work with end of life, right? And it's interesting because she got time off, which I wonder how that worked, right?
Yeah.
It was 2 weeks. Now, I don't know if I sent you this, but Britain is trying to do that now, to actually enforce time that you would be able to take off for your animal.
The loss of an animal companion. Wow,
Yeah,
that's good. It's good.
and also
in the U.S., it's often just 3 days, no matter what the loss is, right? But people work with it. They just call in sick, or they do what they need to do.
Well, when we talked to Erica, right? Erica who has been on the podcast a couple weeks ago. She's been trying to do that in America, right?
Yeah, they've got a petition going.
Yeah, right.
To create that
Yeah.
law. Yeah, it's great.
So
it's great.
It's a little tough, but
I'm sure it is. So we have a couple comments. We have Grace Under Fire who says, I can empathize with Marisa's story. I lost my almost 16-year-old Yorkie Gizmo in October of 2023. What a beautiful send-off you gave Pims. Continue to look for the signs. He is with you. Take care. So thanks, Grace, for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a comment from Alyssa who says, I hope beignets took some of Pim's personality with her. It's happening to me now with my dog, Kim. When my pom-pom passed, they were also best friends. Yeah, we remember that. Thank you, Alyssa.
Thank you so much.
So I guess we'll go on. And again, thanks, Marisa, for sharing with us.
Beautiful story of Pims.
And we got a note from Akira. Nancy got a note, and I'll read the note. And Akira is writing to us about Percy Boy.
Mm-hmm.
This is Akira and Percy Boy.
He's a beautiful baby. He's a big baby.
Yeah. Hi, Nancy. Just wanted to check in and let you know that I listened to the podcast. My partner and I listened to it together and had a good cry. You were both so kind and thoughtful. I listened to more of the podcast episodes on many long walks, and it felt like a kind of group therapy that really helped me forgive myself and realize the unifying nature of grief. The realization that normalizing your grief doesn't lessen its importance. It brings you closer to your fellow travelers and makes you realize how much we all feel the same. We all love the ones who care, who take care of us, and who we take care of. It's been almost a year now since Percy passed away. I think we might have read this more
We did.
recently, and but it actually, the loss actually happened about a year ago. It's been almost a year now since Percy passed away, and I still think about him every day. But the experience of remembering him has changed from one wrapped in guilt and regret to one of gratitude and oneness. I can truly feel the imprint he made on my mind and the way he changed everything I do for the better. I know he taught me that sometimes simple presence or a kind look can mean the world to the ones you love. I want to thank you again for your podcast and the space for people to share their grief and experiences are changing lives together.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm feeling stronger every day, and I know we will all be better for having loved the friends we bring into our lives. Thank you, Akira and Percy Boy. So thanks so much, Akira.
Yes, that's beautiful. I'm glad. Thank you for giving us an update. And that's the purpose of this kind of format, right?
Yeah.
That we share these stories. First of all, we all know that it's very cathartic to write, right? Because it moves a lot of the feelings out on paper, but it also signifies and solidifies and validates the love that you have for your companion animal. And then when we read it, that it's another validation of that, right?
Yeah.
And so, and other people respond, Grace and Alyssa do comment a lot here, and that's wonderful that they do that because they feel it too, which is great.
I love that she said that remembering him has changed from being wrapped in guilt and regret to one of gratitude and oneness. I mean, she's really very poignantly describing the way that we carry
grief,
memory, the way that we carry memory, the way that we carry grief. And then she says, and this is something that I don't think could possibly be said better. I know he taught me that sometimes simple presence or a kind look can mean the world to the ones you love. So it's not really about doing anything in particular. It's about being a compassionate, caring presence. And animals teach us that because they're with us and they're with us fully. They're not glancing at their phone. They're not.
No, they're right. They are there.
They're with us. And it's such an important lesson and one to carry because the more we can be with the people and our animal companions who mean the world to us, the more we're going to realize what she's talking about. We're going to make it real, what she's talking about in that gift that she received.
Well, they give us many gifts, right? And then sometimes you don't realize those gifts until afterwards because in retrospect, right? And you're right. They are present with us. They don't care about anything but just being with us, to experiencing us. And that's so important, in our lives. I love when she said what was the words like you said, she's become one. Well, that, of course, everyone knows that I ingested, a lot of my dogs, that they're part of my soul, right? Especially it started with him. Well, he's part of me. He's there. I feel him every day. And I think that that's really important for everyone to know because it's so hard not to have them there, physically, right, anymore. And that transition is really hard. But they're there. They're with you. They're part of us. They're part of our life experience. Right. And then you get more and more of them as time goes on because they only have us in their whole life. We can have more than one in our life, right? That expands our hearts and souls.
So we are very grateful to Marisa and Akira. Thank you so much. And also we want you to know that we're not going to have a program next week because it's July 4th.
July 4th in America.
And yeah, July 4th in America. And Nancy also has a commitment, so it would be hard to do. And then we have a guest the following week who's going to speak with us about a particular kind of loss. She's going to speak with us about the decision that was made to rehome an animal companion. So that's what they're going to talk with us about. And so we look forward to that. And we'll let you know that if you think you have a story that it would be good to share on the podcast, we're happy to hear from you, and maybe you can join us as well. So in any case, have a good couple of weeks, right? And then we'll be back.
We will be back on July 11th.
On the 11th, yeah. And always great talking with you, Nancy. And have a good couple of weeks yourself. I'm sure we'll probably talk in the interim.
I'm sure we will.
Okay. Take care, everybody. We do have a couple comments. Maybe we can.
Oh, yes, we want to do those.
Alyssa, again, I really want, let me just see. Alyssa is again, I really want to be kind and compassionate now, ever since she passed, in order for me to get to heaven.
Oh,
there. That's another lesson.
Listen, you'll be there, believe me.
Yeah, it's
and she lesson. Will be there to meet her. That will happen.
May the 4th be with you, and also with you. And then Holly is giving us some hearts. That's very nice. So take care, everybody, and we'll talk with you soon.
Right. Take care.
Bye-bye.